Welcome to Men Are the Prize, the podcast. It's Harvey, your host. What's going on, men? How's the week treating you? How are you treating yourself? I hope you're doing well. Another fantastic episode. We're here to open up. We're here to talk. We're here to be emotional. We're here to be men, be the most masculine men we can be. And the way to do that is to talk. So before I introduce my guest, I want to take a minute. So I had something really good happen to me today. And I like to think something happens something good every day, but something that I feel like I didn't know I needed until it happened. A good friend just dropped me a voice note. It wasn't even a minute, but it was just some of the most positive stuff I heard I needed to hear. Like, you're a good human. I like what you do. You do such good stuff. And it was so nice. We don't get that. We don't always get our flowers. So not only was it nice to hear, it was nice to hear it from a brother's voice. He could have just texted that. He could have just said it and it would have been nice. But the inflection of a man saying, I like what you do. You do good work. You help men. What you do is positive. It really hit me. And it felt really good. And I wanted to suggest to every one of you men out there, every day or every few days, find a man, consider a man in your life who maybe doesn't get his flowers, who doesn't get that positive affirmation. And just give it to him. Hit him up. Brother, I haven't heard from you in a while, but I know what you do. I know there's people you're helping. I know there's people who don't even know that you're helping them and you're doing good work. I am so happy that I get to know you, that I get to be in your space. Thank you for everything that you do. I don't know if you understand how great of a feeling it is to be affirmed by your fellow man, by your brother. Take a minute and do the same, because it felt really good for me. And the reason I brought this up is because my guest today, I feel like this is something I've been talking about and he's been nodding that head hard. He knows about this. He understands this. And let's bring this brother in. I introduce to you, Donald Morton. How you doing today, sir?
I'm much better after hearing that. I think you're absolutely right that we live in a society where men in general, black men in particular, have been rendered invisible. And when someone finally sees you, it's a great feeling, man. And it reminds me of how intentional I need to be in reaching out to brothers that may cross my mind or, in a moment be able to say, hey, I wonder what such and such is doing, and not get so busy with my day that I don't pause for that moment and pick up the phone and do a voice note. So I want to, at the onset, man, thank you. I've grown already, just kind of hearing the commentary at the beginning.
I appreciate it. And it really meant something. I spent a lot of this time trying to make this space as comfortable for all men, for us brothers, as we go through life, just dealing with the weight of what we have to do, with the weight of the importance of taking care of our family, of taking care of our business, of taking care of ourselves. And it's a thankless job being a
Yeah,
man in a lot of
yeah,
cases. So sometimes when somebody, not because I asked for it, not because I did something for that person at that moment, but just because that's the stuff that drives us. That's my fuel.
yeah,
That's a fuel for a lot of fathers.
yeah,
You don't always get our kids, and they're kids. They're selfish.
yeah,
That's the way they are. It's not in
yeah,
their nature to think. But when I get that, and maybe I'm tired, and maybe it's heavy, but I got to keep going. I know
yeah,
somebody appreciates what I do.
yeah,
And that's why I felt the need to say it, because
yeah,
it needs to be done. And we need to spread that. It needs to be something we pass on. We need that positivity. I know in the next week, I'm gonna hit somebody up, maybe two men every day. Brother, it's been a minute, but I see your content. I remember your content, even if I haven't seen you recently, but I felt what you've done in the past.
mm-hmm,
In case you forgot, you were the man,
mm-hmm,
you were
mm-hmm,
legit. And the
mm-hmm.
more we say that to our men, the stronger we make us. And when the men are strong, the
Oh yeah,
world is in a better place. When
oh
we handle business, things are easier for everybody else.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? When
yeah, yeah,
we are doing things, when we are being the men that we're supposed to be,
yeah,
life is better.
yeah,
So I'm glad that we're going to be on here to speak. And I could rant, but I'm gonna hold back. What I do, if you listen or watch this podcast, what I enjoy most is when I print out some paper here. This is the bio I like to get the paper out. I like to read. I like to just kind of dive in. So
Yeah.
this is your story. I'm gonna read it back to you. You tell me what you
Okay.
think in a minute.
Okay.
Donald Morton is a highly esteemed figure in the realm of Black male empowerment, renowned for his exceptional achievements and expertise. As the founder and chief visionary officer of ReManned, a leading coaching and consulting firm dedicated to adult Black males, Donald has revolutionized the lives of countless individuals. Donald's success story is truly inspirational, having been recognized as a Black enterprise modern man. He has not only excelled in his professional endeavors, but has also fostered a loving family, raising three accomplished adult children who stand as a testament to his exceptional parenting. A prolific author, Donald has penned the critically acclaimed book, The ReManned Book, which delves into the core principles and strategies for personal and professional growth specifically tailored to adult Black males. His profound insights and practical guidance have propelled many individuals to realize their full potential and achieve remarkable success. In recognition of his invaluable contributions, Donald has been awarded two honorary doctorate degrees, a testament to his profound impact and influence. His vast knowledge and expertise have made him a highly sought after international speaker, captivating audiences with his powerful messages of empowerment and transformation. Donald Morton stands at the forefront of empowering Black men, equipped with a wealth of experience, proven strategies, and an unwavering commitment to guiding individuals towards personal and professional fulfillment. With his visionary leadership and transformative impact, Donald is an undisputed authority in the field, inspiring and uplifting individuals around the globe. That's a bio. I read that for every guest because we men tend to not hear it. And that's literally how we started this episode. A lot of people, when they do their bio, that's read separately, and then we just go right into the interview. I feel like my guests need to hear that because who knows the last time you got to hear it. So
Yeah.
my question to start off with you is when you hear your accolades, when you hear what you've accomplished, knowing that it's just the beginning, because every man that comes on here is at the precipice about what he's about to throw down. When you at the beginning of your story, but what does it feel like to hear what you've accomplished so far?
Yeah, Harvey. Let me say this, man. There was a little boy in me that wanted you to stop. That felt almost boastful in the achievements. All of them real, all of them accurate. But I was raised in a house, man, with a mom who believed in at least her version, Harvey, of humility. And so, you know, when I hear those things, Black Enterprise, Modern Man, two honorary doctorate degrees, I mean, all of that's true. And I will tell you, I was over here antsy, like, when does that end? Like, stop already, you know, which can bleed into other areas, right? Because we oftentimes have it, particularly in the Black community, we've not really felt worthy of the accolades that people give us or the achievements that we've had, and we felt almost necessarily silent, like you can have all these accomplishments but be quiet about it. My mom would walk in a room, Harvey, without any exaggeration, and she would bow. That was her version of humility. And I remember walking in a room trying that, like bowing, and I'm like, yeah, that's not me. I'm cool on that, right? So when I heard it, I just kind of heard myself and felt myself get a little anxious, like, yeah, let's just get to the interview, man. Ain't none of that stuff important. And here's the deal, Harvey. It's all important. It's all important. So thank you for being willing to allow me to hear it, because that was something that just developed character in me to be able to sit through that. And many people may not understand that, but having to sit through that was a lot. right?
I,
It
I,
was
I
like,
understand. I understand.
yeah,
And I mean, I mentioned why I read the bios first, but for me, the another reason that I read it is for me, a good bio, it leads, there's context as to
yeah,
who you are and what
yes,
you've done and
yes,
why you do what you've done.
yes,
For me personally, I want to create perspective. When
yes,
I walk out the house, there's perspective when a police officer sees me.
yes,
There's perspective when somebody sees a black man and they think something. I
yes,
want to control the narrative.
yes,
When I walk out this house, you don't. I'm not a thief. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a
yes,
deadbeat dad. I'm not a rapist. I'm
yes,
not some broke man who can't take care of his family. I'm a man.
yes,
So when I've accomplished what I've accomplished, and I people get to hear it, I
yeah,
damn near want people to be like, he a little cocky about that, isn't he?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
and then
yeah,
I'm gonna be like, yes. And
yeah,
for me, it's different because what I bring in terms of masculinity is different from you.
yeah,
You bring the academic, you bring
yeah,
so much. I'm a
yeah,
stay-at-home father. So
yeah,
while I don't bring what you bring, I bring it
yeah,
from the other side. But
yeah,
in my opinion, what I bring is just as
yeah,
valuable as what you bring.
absolutely,
I
without
am
question.
stay at home, 4 kids. I'm raising kids who are going to go out into the world and going to be dignified, respectful,
Yes,
intelligent. Three
yes,
daughters. Three
yes,
daughters are going to go out into the world and going to change things. My 19-year-old son, who's respectful of the women, who knows about the world, he's going to be important. I send my agents out into this world. That's me. That's what I'm
powerful.
sending out into the world.
Yeah,
And when so you for you, it's the words on the page.
yeah,
For me, it's my children.
yeah,
That's my daughter right there. You
yeah,
damn right. I'm
yeah, yeah,
cocky
yeah,
about that
yeah,
girl.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
cocky
yeah,
about my son. Oh
yeah,
my God, he's so arrogant. You damn right I am.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
every
yeah,
black man should feel that way about
yeah,
what he's done, whether it's
yeah,
his family or whether it's the job, the innovation, whatever he does.
yeah,
So while I understand
yeah,
it's weird to hear what you've done, but you need to keep hearing what
yeah,
you've done. And more
yeah,
importantly, you don't need to hear the same thing twice. The
yeah,
next podcast, somebody needs to add an extra paragraph. Oh,
yeah,
Donald Morton did this too?
yeah,
And you sitting there,
yeah,
you still like, God, I need to hear this.
yeah,
Yes, brother, you
yeah,
do. Because you're doing good
yeah,
work. You
yeah.
are a representation of what every black man needs to achieve. I applaud you. We haven't
Wow.
even started this interview
Yeah,
yet.
yeah,
Brother, I see what you're doing.
man. I appreciate that,
I
man.
see you and you
Yeah,
see it and be
yeah,
proud. Sit in that, man.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want sit
You
in that.
you know what, Harvey? I went to Accra, Ghana, and on the flight there, this is so consistent with what you're saying, right? So on the flight there, you know, members of the continent, people of the continent, people of the country of South Africa, right? And one guy, he was just walking back and forth. You know, they tell you get up on the plane so clots don't develop and all of that, right? So
Right.
we're on this long flight, and a guy just kept going back and forth. And for us, you know, he didn't say excuse me. He didn't smile. He, you know, like for us, he was arrogant. And one of the guys in our group said to him, "Hey, my man," uh, and I forget how it came about. Harvey, I think he just kind of bumped into one of us, right? And one of our guys said, "Hey, my man, you can say excuse me." He said, "Excuse me," and he said, "Well, you are arrogant somebody." And here's what he said, Harvey. I'll never forget it. Changed my life forever. He said, "I'm not arrogant. I'm what you would have been if you had never gotten captured." Harvey.
Oh, oh,
he said,
oh,
he said,
oh.
"I'm the product of liberation. I'm what
Mm,
you would have been
mm,
if you never gotten captured."
mm.
Right. So this docile perspective and lens through which Black men approach life is the result of our enslavement. Right. And what he was reminding us of is the brilliance that we are and have if we had not suppressed it because of our own captivity. That is the reason why we show up in the way that we show up. So he affirms everything that you just said. And I remember it. I sat back in my chair on the flight and was like, we all looked at each other like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was such a checkpoint for
Mm-hmm.
us that we had to really, to your point, kind of sit with what he had just said. So much truth, so much liberty in the statement that he made.
Wow, that's bold. And I
Yeah.
want that. Even as you say it, I can feel like I know the feeling in that chamber must have changed. I know,
Yes.
like, because I know for that second, I'm really contemplating what I am as a black man when I'm hearing that.
Yes.
Like, exactly what have I? It's not even about what I've done; it's how I deal with it. And
Yes.
that's really what was happening there. As a
Yeah.
black man, like, I need to get up. I'm gonna walk around. I mean, I'm not trying to hit you, but you got hit. Deal with it. That's what it was. And then it really goes back to just you listening to. It's like just kind of fall in and appreciate what you've done, who you are, what we were raised to be, where we came from. We are descendants of kings, of men of distinction, of power, of everything. And at no point, I guarantee you, them kings never felt bad looking at their wealth,
Right.
looking at their people, looking at maybe the
Right.
women they had, their children. This is mine. I'm supposed to have this. Why am I going to feel bad about that? That's the way you should be feeling about your
Absolutely.
accomplishments, about your life, about yourself. And that's what I tried. And to get there, we need to be comfortable with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to be like, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect, but what I bring to society, what I bring to even a regular person that I speak with is just special. What
Yeah.
I am is powerful. What I am is a powerful black man. Take me,
Yeah. Yeah.
learn from me,
Yeah.
grow from this
Yeah.
experience. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with knowing your
Yeah.
value, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong. Yes, I am. This is what I am. And let's talk about you. So let's do this. I read your bio. We already know, but let's delve in. If you haven't listened or watched to this podcast ever, and this is your first episode, welcome.
Thank you.
What a guest. You came at the right time down on Morton. We're about to put it down. We're going to talk here. The way I do this podcast is a space for men to be open, vulnerable, emotional. We're talking. I want men to feel comfortable talking. I want men to hear other men talking about our ups, our downs, our failures, our successes, everything. We
Yeah.
got to put it out there. If
Yeah.
nothing else, it's therapeutic, but more important, that young black man on the rise can hear another successful man.
Mm.
He needs to hear that. So when he messes up, it's not the end of the world. It's just
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first
For
step
sure.
to glory. Just
For
the first
sure.
step.
For sure.
First step. So the word prize is very much what I use for this podcast. I take
Yeah.
4 of the letters in the word prize. Each of those letters represent a characteristic that I think are good for men. And we're
Okay.
going to talk about it. The first letter in the word prize is P. The word is purpose. Reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. Sir, what is your purpose?
Yeah. I help black men interrupt patterns. I help them disrupt behaviors. I help them break the vicious cycles of missed potential so that those men can master their own lives, their own sense of leadership to their families, and their own sense of legacy with building, with business and community. It's what I was born to do. And every single man has to be able to answer two fundamental questions. Who am I? The question that we just dealt with a moment ago. And why am I? Question of purpose.
Mm,
So I'm really singularly clear about why I'm on the planet and will do this work for the rest of my life.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Here's my question. When did you know that this was your calling? This is what you're here to do. Was there a moment? Was there a particular time in your life? Did something happen to you where you're like, this is what I'm going to do? When did this become the thing for you?
Yeah. So I pastored Harvey for 25 years, right? And when I stopped pastoring, I retired in 2019 at 50 years old. And when I retired, 51% of my church were males. 51% of a black church were men. I was, and I say that for everyone who, for those that may not be familiar with the black church is 90 to 95% women, right? So when the idea that men wanted to be better, right? That we saw it every single week that men wanted to be better. This narrative that brothers don't want to be better, they don't want anything out of life, is just such a false and fallacious narrative that I wanted to do something about it. I grew up with a dad that left me 3 times, meaning that my father was in the house but emotionally absent, right? He and my mother fought every weekend. They drank what's called Inver House. I don't even know whether they still sell Inver House, right? But they drank Inver House, played pinochle, and fought. That was the weekly sport of our house until my mom and dad got tired, and they separate. My dad moves all the way to California from Delaware. You can't go any further,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So one, he leaves me emotionally because he's in the house but he's absent, and then secondly, he leaves me geographically. A couple years later, he and my mom decide they're gonna get back together, Harvey. And my mom tells me, so I'm on my way home from school. We were supposed to go to movies that day, and she said, "Son, I got to talk to you." I said, "What's up?" I saw it in her face, man. So I'm a little boy, so I said, "We're not going to the movies, right?" And she's like, "No, we're not going to the movies." I said, "Okay." She said, "But I got to tell you, your dad died
Mm.
emotionally, geographically, eternally." And what I learned, Harvey, is every man got a story, man. That dude is my hero today because he wrote a letter to my grandma before he died, obviously. And the letter said, "Tell my son I loved him, just didn't know how to be a dad."
Mm.
It wasn't that I didn't love him, I just didn't know how to be a dad.
Mm.
So my call to help men recover, man. Dr. Henry Cloud calls character the capacity to meet, to face, to overcome the adverse realities that come with everyday life. What I hope that men do, and when I found out that I was called to do it, is after trial after trial after trial after trial, from bankruptcy to divorce to infidelity to cancer, prostate cancer, situation after situation after situation that I had to recover from in order to be all that bio said. That bio doesn't come without cost. And what I figured out, bro, tell me whether you agree, man. What I figured out is I ain't the only one.
Yes.
I ain't the only one, right?
Mm-mm.
That most
Mm-mm.
men, particularly black men, have gone through similar things, more things, a couple less things. It doesn't matter. But I needed to help them to recover, because usually what happens is when black men are met with challenge, we don't necessarily know how to handle it, and so we mishandle it, and we oftentimes don't get a second chance at life in the way that we should. Society throws us away, people throw us away, marriages throw us away. So I wanted to develop in 2019 the ReManned Project, which was my goal of being able to help men overcome the adversity. Because no matter what we encounter, this is what you and I know, bro. Every man gonna be met with adversity.
Mm-mm.
You, as a father of four, going to be met with adversity. You've been met with adversity. I've been, as a father of three, I've been met with adversity. I've been married, divorced, married again, met with adversity, right? So the one sure thing is there is a success character connection. And if you don't know how to manage the difficulties, you're going to fall into the same traps over and over again. That's when I discovered I got something that I want to help men do, and that is be resilient, to develop an expanded adversity quotient, and to be the kind of men that I know they desire to be and that I believe the Creator created us to be.
Man, you spit facts right now. We this is so you he said, tell my son I loved him. I just didn't know how to be a father. That line, I feel like when you extrapolate that, that is what it means to be a black man in this world. I
Yeah.
wanted to do right. I just
Yeah.
didn't know how.
Yes.
I wanted to love you, girl. I just didn't know how. I wanted to
Yes.
listen to what you were saying. I just didn't know
Yes.
how. I wanted
Yes.
to be a good husband. I just didn't know how.
Yes.
We
Yes.
are raised, we aren't taught, we're raised, and there's a
Yes.
difference.
Yes.
Raised, but we're not educated. I don't know how to do this. So I only react in situations the only way that just
Right.
emotionally things happen
Right.
to me and I just react.
Right.
I don't do right. I just do what I do.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And that's a lot of us. That's the struggle, black men just walking around. Things happen. And had we been properly, had we get that sit down, that talk, that conversation, that intimate moment between a father and a son, or an uncle and his nephew, or whatever, or that hug when something really bad happens to me and I wasn't given the chance to respond to something angrily, but to let out my emotions properly, was
Yes.
so much better. So I can see this project.
Yes.
We got there's a whole bunch of clay here. It's men,
Yes.
just we so close. You
Yes.
almost look like what you're supposed to be. You're like a finishing school for these men.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
We almost there. What's left? This is what you do when
Yeah,
this
man.
happens. When the cops pull up on you and you mad and it's building, you feel it. You want to yell at them. No, 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 no. You're not yelling. You just getting home. Yes,
Absolutely.
officer, blah, blah, blah. You do all that. You deal with that stuff in that house that you built, that you bought.
Absolutely,
You do
bro.
not let that stuff happen out in the street because chances are somebody's at home waiting for you. These are the things as experienced men that we could say to them.
Yeah.
Brother, I was with you. I was in that car. That
Yeah.
cop had that gun to me. I saw my life right in front of me, but here's what I did. And this is why I can talk to
Yeah.
you. Tell a bunch of other brothers who didn't get to that chance and they're not here with us. But I'm here for you. So I love what you do, and we need it. We
Yeah.
need these positive male influences so I can look at you. And when I coach men, because I don't obviously I do what you do, but
Yeah.
I talk to men, and my first step is to lay out my experience. I tell them my
Mm-hmm.
story. This is what I've
Mm-hmm.
been through. I
Mm-hmm.
struggled. I made it to college. I failed out. I came out. I was so
Mm-hmm.
depressed. I tried to kill
Mm-hmm.
myself. I've been through
Mm-hmm.
some ish.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing you cannot tell me that I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, we
Yeah.
connect. At that
Yeah.
moment, now what? And I'm sure
Yeah.
you talking to these men,
Yeah.
been through this. You got the business, you got the plan, you got the idea. You're
Yeah.
missing this final step.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my pride and joy is when I get a black man who is set. He is secure. He knows what he's going to do. He is motivated.
Yeah.
Get out the way. Let him do
Yeah.
it.
Let him do his
That
thing.
is a man who knows what he wants, how to do it, and when, is basically an unstoppable person.
Without question, man.
Yeah.
I so applaud that. Um, because yeah, it's the stuff we were embarrassed by
Mhm.
that we get a chance to leverage to help another man. And what's ironic is that many of the brothers who crucified me for the stuff I've done, because when I cheated on my ex-wife, it went viral. I was an international figure, an international speaker, so it was known in Africa when I cheated, right? It was known in
Wow.
different parts of the
Wow.
of our country when I cheated. And so the guys who crucified me are now the ones who say, "Hey man, I appreciate your resilience, bro." One interview I did with a brother, he said, "I don't know how you do it, but you always end up on your feet." I said, "I do it by being authentic. Like I'm not trying to hide. I ain't got to hide from you. Like I'm gonna tell you what I've done because 9 times out of 10, there's some similarity, there's some connection there, right?" And so I think I think for me, I've learned the value of transparency, vulnerability, authenticity in a way that I can leverage it to empower another man who is absolutely depressed because he does, to your point, right? He does think his life is over. He made a mistake. So he does think prison is it for him. No, my guy, it's not. It's not. You can recover. So yeah, man, I enjoy hearing that approach, telling stories at the beginning. It's the way that we get a chance to connect with brothers and be able to help a guy say, okay, I can, like, I have a therapist. My therapist it's a new therapist. My old therapist retired. So my therapist last week spent the entire session telling me about him. so so he said, I know I talked about me. I just want you to know I'm trustworthy with your stuff.
That's right.
I've been there.
That's what's up.
Right. And
Right.
so I love your approach.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For me, to find a therapist or somebody I'm comfortable speaking with, I need to know about you. I need
Yeah.
to know what I'm diving into, because for men, it's an issue we have. We have an issue with trust. Vulnerability is a long word for us, but it is even a harder journey.
Yeah.
Even in our relationships, with our women, our significant others, it's going to be a minute before I really break down and tell you something that happens. And in a lot of cases, she gets one shot. A lot of cases,
Mm-hmm.
she gets that one time, and I'm gonna tell you,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what happened to me, and I was young, or my dad, or this happened with my mom, or this girl that I was dating, I was ready, and then something went down. And there's this narrative, and it does happen. But with us men, we tell that person something deep, something that we haven't told anybody else. And we do it, one, to kind of feel better about ourselves, but two, to see what she does with it.
Yeah, for
Now,
sure.
in a few months, if it comes back at me in a negative way, now I know I can't trust you. Now I know, in a way, we not boys.
Yeah.
Because I know that wasn't meant to be ammunition for you.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That
yeah.
was meant to be soil to grow our
Yeah,
relationship, and
yeah,
you just messed it up.
yeah,
I didn't tell you that so you could throw it back at me. I did that so that when you talk to me, you understand how I speak sometimes, where I might be aggressive, but it's not aggressive. It's just you triggered something. And we give those people a chance, and when they mess it up, it's painful. You're talking about a therapist. I tell this story occasionally, and I think it's important, specifically because we're talking about Black
yeah,
men. Deciding to get a therapist is a big moment for us, because in
yeah,
our community, it's still taboo.
yeah,
There's one brother I was talking to, and he said, I'm like, all right, I'm getting a therapist. I've decided to do it. I have some issues. I need to talk. He found a therapist. This therapist was a white man, and he was driving there, and he was late. He got to the therapist, and he apologized to the therapist. Like, listen, I'm sorry I was late, but I was driving here, and there was a cop behind me, and I don't know what was
mm,
going on. The therapist, who's good, who knows his stuff, he's trained, he's got his degrees. In terms of the professional, he's professional. But his response was, what are you worried about? Just drive here. Nothing's going to happen to you. You would have been fine.
wow,
His brother was like, at that moment, I knew he wasn't for me, because he
absolutely,
doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. I'm no therapist, but I talk to men, and a brother says that to me
yeah,
immediately. Like,
yeah,
and you were the same. As
yeah,
soon as I said there was a cop behind me, you
yeah,
immediately understood.
yeah,
The
yeah,
conversation hit. You knew
yeah,
exactly what was up. And
yeah,
so did I. And I'm
yeah,
like, see, there ain't nothing wrong with him. He's just not for you.
yeah, yeah, for
It
sure.
is so important. This is why this is good, because a man will say that to you. My first, and he was telling me the story. It happened years ago, and I
Mm,
was like, brother, how are you? Because
mm-hmm,
I know how I feel when a
mm-hmm,
cop was behind me. I understood at that
mm-hmm.
moment. I felt that terror with him. I'm in the
Yes,
car with him. I'm sitting next to him. I'm
yes,
looking behind us. I see the lights about to flash. I'm figuring out what I got to do to get home.
yeah,
And I'm like, it's so important to find somebody who gets it. And he opened up to somebody who didn't truly
yeah,
get it.
yeah,
That therapist was done at that moment. It was a
yeah,
wrap. it
yeah,
was it was over. So to be open, to crack open a Black man, to let him give you some
mm-hmm,
serious information,
mm-hmm,
you don't waste that.
mm-hmm,
You don't fumble that, man. You get
mm-hmm,
it right.
mm-hmm.
So it's so important what we do. It's so
Yeah,
important what you do. It's
yeah,
so important what I try to do, that
yeah,
we talk to these men, bro. And that therapist who just told you everything about him,
yeah,
that's a man that I could sit with.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And you know what, man? Um, I've coined this phrase, right? I'd like to hear from you about it, right? I coined this phrase. A lot of times I hear influencers, therapists, coaches like you and I, right? I hear us talk a lot about safe spaces and creating these safe spaces. And I frankly don't like the term, um, because what I have found is that the term safe space gives my power away. I like the term courageous space.
Hmm.
Like, I'm courageous enough to step into this moment, open myself up to you, and know that you may weaponize it against me.
Mm. Okay.
Right? The level of
Yes.
courage that it takes for me to do that over and over again, right? So if if I say something to my wife and she weaponizes it, it's gonna give me pause, but it's not gonna rob my courage to step in again. I'm gonna
Mm.
step in again and again and
Mm.
again, because I'm going to own the moment.
Mm.
I don't know, because here's the truth, man. We don't know, even the people with the best of intentions. We don't know what they're going to do with the information that we give them. So we can't with any sense of certainty call any space safe. We don't know. So what we've got to do is develop. For me, I've had to develop courage enough to talk to my wife, knowing that I've been wounded in the past. I've had to
Mm.
be courage enough, have enough courage to be able to say, "Hey, babe, I don't like this," or "I need you to do more of this," or "I'm feeling a little depressed today," because I too remember what it is, bruh, to sit at my desk when all those people found out that I was unfaithful to my ex-wife and everybody was abandoning me and nobody wanted me to come preach anymore. I remember putting my gun on the desk and saying, if this is how this is going to end, this is how this is going to end. But facing these monsters out here who was absolutely good with me for as long as I was preaching their people under the pews. And now that I need them,
Mm.
they're abandoning me. Yeah, let
Mm.
me just
Mm.
blow it, right?
Mm.
So the courage that it takes to leave that moment, to live beyond that moment, and then to step into spaces that I know may possibly or even probably be weaponized against me. That's a degree of courage I want every Black man to walk in.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. I hear that, and when I talk to men, I do the success coaching thing. I catch men who are on the cusp of just greatness, but there's something holding them back. There's something that they don't know really what it is. And when I'm hearing you, it fits a lot into what I talk about, because I compare being an entrepreneur to a man being in love.
Mm,
I got this business I want to start. I tried before, it didn't work out.
mm-hmm.
I met this girl, man. She knows me. She understands me. She respects me. But I've been hurt before.
Right.
Am I man enough to say, you know what? I got hurt before. You know what? This business opportunity may not work, but I got to do it. This
Yes.
girl may break my heart,
Yes.
but I got to
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
I love what you said. That's it. Courageous. Safe is good. I like that. But
Yeah.
courageous is even
Yes.
better, because I
Yes.
got to. That's good, because it's not safe. It really hit me. Saying it's a safe space is just words. It may not work out.
Absolutely.
I may talk to somebody who may hurt me in the future, and it wasn't
Absolutely.
safe. It was temporarily safe. It
Absolutely.
was safe at that moment, but then became unsafe when they used it. And if
Absolutely.
I'm prepared for that unsafe,
Yes.
for that danger, because
Yes.
that's what that is.
Yes.
When I'm
Yes.
prepared for that danger, I can deal with it. I can deal with the situation, and then I can move on. As
Yes.
opposed to just kind of being in this space where nothing's going to happen. It's better to be in a space where something could happen,
Yes.
but I'm be able to walk up out that room and I'm better than when I walked in.
Yes.
I've got
Yes.
that's Wonderful. I don't think I will use safe space anymore. I truly,
Mhm.
brother, you coined a fantastic phrase. I love that a lot.
Yes, sir.
There's so much for me, inner monologue is what I talk about. There's so much
Yes.
going on in my head, so much I'm talking about with myself. There's so
Yes.
much that we need to keep doing, and we need to keep processing what we're going through,
Yes.
processing what's happening now, what's going to happen in 2 weeks. The thing we find hardest to process, and I'm going to move on in a second, but it's not failure.
Mm.
It's what do I do when everything I said I was going to do, I did it.
Yes.
Now what? I
Yes.
said I was going to start that business. I started it. It's
Yes.
booming.
Yes.
Now what? Now I'm
Yes.
sitting here. Am I stagnant? Am I content?
Yes.
Or it's just this is just step one. Is there another door I got to crack open? What do
Mm.
I do when I get there?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do when I'm rolling in that dough? What am I doing when people are looking up to me? Now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
even that's even harder to think about than failure because I could just sit there and fail. But what if I win?
Yeah. What do I do with that? And here's if I were to show you, Harvey, we use a signature proprietary process called the character arc, right? And so at the center of the character arc is this stage called mastery. And when people hear mastery, usually they hear to be completely proficient at a thing. And what they forget is that to master and be adept at one stage also at the same time means I'm inept at the next one, right? So we graduate from elementary school because we're adept at elementary school. But then there's junior high, and I'm inept at junior high. I've never been there, right? Then I mastered that. Then I'm inept at high school because I've never been there. Then I mastered that. And then I'm inept at college because I've never been there. What if we could teach brothers this delicate dance of being okay with the uncomfortable space of being inept? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's
Mm,
such a beautiful space
mm,
because it requires curiosity. It requires us to be curious. It requires us to reach out for help. Otherwise, I just remain stagnant, right? So, I've learned the importance of embracing the difficulty of not knowing and being inept and not knowing what to say to my wife, and not knowing how to make it all better, and not knowing how to respond to my son if he does something I don't like, but he's a grown man. Like, how do I'm inept at those areas, right? And it requires me to be mastery requires growth. It requires growth. It requires continual learning and growth. And so what I try to help brothers do using the business kind of sense that you were talking about is let me tell you this, man. There's a guy who told this story of his son, and his son is sitting in the floor. This is my favorite story, Harvey. I've been trying to find a way to make this story my own story for the last 3 months, but it's not my story. It's another brother's story, right? His son is playing a video game, and his dad says his son is crying. So his dad says, "What's wrong with you? You good?" He said, I'm frustrated. I can't get past this stage." And his dad says, "Well, stop crying. Just figure it out. Figure it out. Like, sit there, don't cry. Just figure it out." And his dad goes away for about 3 hours. Harvey comes back, and his son is playing at the next level in the video game. And his dad says, "Yo, you're playing at the next level." He said, "Dad, I figured it out." And he said, "Tell me what you figured out." He said, "The character I was using in the game was sufficient enough to get me to that stage, but wasn't sufficient enough to get me to the next stage." Here's what it is, Harvey, man. The character that we have has been sufficient enough to get us this far, but we've got to choose another character to get us to the next level.
All right.
Wherever a man is right now, it's been good so far to get you to that level. I'm not downing it. It's been necessary, but it won't get you to the next one.
So,
Right? So we've got to learn how to grow and evolve and become more. It's not usually guys ask me, Donald, what do I need to do differently? I said, bro, that's not the question. The question is before you can get to the do stage, the question is, who do I need to become?
mm, mm,
Right? Who do I
yes.
need to become that'll cause me to do something different and have something different that is sustainable? Right. And so if there's a thing that I want brothers to do, brothers who are, because we are rendered invisible, because no one's celebrating us, we look for applause, and when we finally get a thing right, we just want to stay there because it's uncomfortable to go back to being unseen, inept. But
Mhm.
if we could tell brothers, Harvey, be comfortable with being inept, be comfortable with not knowing, be comfortable being uncomfortable. I'll say this lastly, man. I built a house years ago before I moved to Georgia. I had lived in my house for a good almost 20 years. And I remember going to the house when they were digging the hole. Every day I would go just to kind of see progress. When the house was done, here's a revelation I got, man. Tell me if you agree. The most important part of the house was the foundation.
Of course.
No one ever came to my house. I was a beautiful home. No one ever came to my house, Harvey, and said, boy, your foundation is beautiful. Everybody celebrated the architecture and the carpet and the fixtures and the decor, all of that stuff. But nobody ever said, boy, your foundation is strong, it's solid.
Mhm.
Men are the foundation to this society, bro.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I've tried to help men understand it's not an easy task to do. And I think I hate the fact that I've got to do it, but I've tried to help brothers understand the most important part of the house is also the least celebrated.
Mhm.
And as a black man, you most important, but you also gonna be least celebrated.
Mhm.
Can you handle that and still
Mhm.
handle your responsibilities of being a man?
Mhm. Mm. Man. Whew. Oh, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this. Along with everything you were talking about, I like the whole idea of being inept, where I jump in if I'm talking to somebody who's kind of
Yeah,
going through the experience, is it's okay to be inept because
yeah,
we're going to grow from that. We're going to go to the next step. That this is a temporary stage. We will be inept.
yes,
But every time you're inept in this, the next time you're inept, you'll be better. I would
yes,
be like, not only were you inept, but I want you to leave that stage, that state of
yes,
ineptitude,
yes,
and I want you to like that guy. Then go
yes,
to the next guy,
yes,
and then that guy is even better than the first one. I want you to
yes,
like him before you move to the
yes,
next one. So
yes,
be inept and be happy because that guy was putting in the work, the time, the effort,
yes,
and he's on the way and he's going
yes,
that way. That
yes,
man is amazing. And the dude right before him was amazing too.
yes,
And as we keep that confidence going every time, all right, I'm in a new space. I'm uncomfortable, but you know what I know about me?
yes,
The
yes,
last time this happened,
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I learned. I
yeah,
came through.
man.
I was amazing. I like this guy. This is a wonderful thing. I'm loving what you're
Yes, sir.
doing.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
keep it going. The next letter in the word prize is R. You said the word already. I'm bringing it back. The word is resilience,
Mm-hmm.
the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. Being a black man is living resilient all the time.
No question.
Getting up, going to work, making sure I get home is a sheer act of just defiance of the way society expects us to be.
Yes,
I'm not always supposed to get home.
yes,
So being resilient is what I have to be. It's just living.
yes.
What I'm gonna go to you. Give me and I think you might have even mentioned it. You've had situations. Give me something that happened in life, something that happened to you where you discovered that you had resilience and you didn't know you had it until that
Yeah,
situation?
yeah, man. And I want to intentionally talk about this because it's a space that I am currently overcoming,
Okay.
right? I mentioned that I was a pastor for 25 years. The assignment, I pastored after my mom retired, I pastored the church that she pastored.
Mhm.
And bruh, they locked me out of that church. It's the way that Baptist people fired a pastor, right? So I remember like it was yesterday. Um, Harvey, man, they called me into a meeting. They asked my secretary, "Hey, can Dr. Morton come into a meeting? We just want to talk about the direction of the church, so on and so forth."
Mhm.
And she's like, "Sure." So I went to I walk in the door. I say good morning or good evening to everybody. Everybody says good evening. I go to the bathroom. I come back out, and they say, "Pastor, can we pray?" And I said, "Certainly, let's all pray." And we prayed, Harvey. They prayed. As soon as they said amen, one of the members of the church came and read a letter. And the letter said this essentially, the letter said this: "You are no longer the pastor of this church. And not only are you not the pastor of this church, but if you show up on these grounds another day, we're going to have you locked up. We're going to have you locked up." I don't know whether I mentioned this, Harvey. This is the church I grew up in, right? This is the church that I loved and the people loved me. Here we are in June, and I'm still dealing with in therapy the trauma of being disposed of
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
as a son of a church, the son of the former pastor who had done, they accused me of stealing. All of that disrupted me. And I've had to spend now uh, a good 6, 7 years later trying to recover from that moment. You know what I had to do, Harvey? Back in March, I had to go back to that church because remember, they told me that if I ever step foot on the grounds again, I would get locked up.
Mhm.
Back in March, I had to go back to the church and I had to do the funeral of one of the women that helped raise me. It was the first time I had ever gone back to that church. I had never stepped foot in that church before. Can I tell you that my knees knocked, right? How will they receive me? Are they still, because the narrative was I stole from the church. I didn't steal from them people. But I had to go through therapy and still going through therapy and have to be exposed to the situation all over again just to overcome it. I had that situation to recreate it and go through it over and over again. So when I tell you, man, that sometimes, Harvey, the things that we encounter, we think we're over. But what I tell people all the time, bruh, is absence doesn't mean deliverance. Just because you've not encountered it again doesn't mean you're delivered from it. You just haven't had the opportunity to test whether or not you're over it, right? So back in March, I had to test whether or not I was over it, and I had to address it again. So that is an example of the level of resiliency because I still had to love those people. I still had to embrace those people. I still had to pray for those people. I still had to shake hands with those people, right? And let them know it's all good. Like, we good. You did what you felt like you had to do. And I'm okay with that. Right? I had to sit with my creator and ask, what the hell just happened? And he said this to me, Harvey. I I never told you to take this church in the first place.
Mm,
So
mm,
all that just happened was me violently getting you back into purpose because you left purpose to do the favor of your mom, but you wasn't man enough to say, "Nah, mom, I don't believe that's for me. This is what I'm supposed to be doing." And because you didn't do that, I had to get you back in purpose. And what I know about you, Donald, is that if I didn't do it violently, you would have fought tooth and nail to stay in that position. So the example of resiliency for me is, how do you recover after that? Dr. Paul Stoltz writes a book, man. It'd be a book I would encourage you to get, man. I think you'll like it. It's called Adversity Quotient. We hear a lot about IQ. We hear a lot about EQ, but very few people have heard of AQ. AQ is what our entire system is based on. It's called the adversity quotient. How do I become resilient in the face of obstacles over and over and over again? You mentioned it. That's the black man's story, right? So I've been able to overcome prostate cancer. I'm prostate free. I was prostate free back in May, right? I've been able to overcome divorce. I've been able to grow from a man who committed adultery over and over and over again to a man that would never cheat on his wife. Never. I've become a grown man, but becoming a grown man required adversity. It's not the most welcoming thing in the world, but it is the most necessary thing in the world if you're going to ultimately become the man that you want to be and the creator created you to be. You're going to have to go through some stuff. There's a cost to becoming a grown man. And that's what resiliency is for me. All the things I've had to overcome, it's just the cost of it. It's the admission fee to being a
mm.
grown man.
Wow. I like that. I like that. I really, that's serious. You
Yes.
dropping dimes. You dropping dimes, brother. I appreciate that. Oh, wow. Let's skip the I. We're going to keep it moving.
Okay.
And because I want to change the conversation a little bit. Z is the next letter in the word prize. For me, that word is zeal, enthusiastic devotion. When I talk about zeal, when I do this podcast, I talk to a lot of men who are trying to achieve so much,
Mhm.
whether it's in relationships or in business or in whatever they're doing. And since we're raised to do that, to just nose to the grindstone and just go, there's always somebody who's not taken care of in that case. And it's that man
Absolutely.
taking care of everybody else. My question is for you as a black man who's done a lot, who's dealing with life, who knows how to process things, but is taking care of family and a congregation or employees or whatever. When life is tapping you, when life is
Yeah.
difficult, when
Yeah.
when it's at the hamstrings and you feel
Yeah.
that pull,
Yeah.
you do for you, not for your wife, not for your adult children, not for the employees, not for the congregation, not for the friends, not for the anyone else.
Yeah.
What is your thing? What is your solace in this world so that you can stay sane?
Yeah, man. That's such a good question. And I really wish, bruh, that I could tell you I'm good at this. This is probably one of the things that I'm just really not good at. Um, However, I do every single day, I try every single day to spend time in meditation first thing in the morning. Um, and we have a method called the Muse method that we use where um, we press pause on the day. Like let's press pause. It was Viktor Frankl who said that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is the power to choose my response. So when situations happen, I've learned, a part of what we try to help brothers understand is that if you can recognize the adversity afar off, you don't feel panicked when it shows up. So I've learned how to recognize when I'm almost on empty. I've learned to recognize when, you know, I'm tired. And I used to feel really, really guilty, man, about taking a nap. I felt really, really guilty about going on vacation, right? So now inside ReManned, we are automating everything just so that I don't have to have my head to the ground every single day. I love laughing with my wife or just kind of hanging out, listening to, believe it or not, man, listening to Tommy's crank or prank phone calls, right? Steve Harvey, right? So
Right,
I
right,
listen to them and it just is a stress reliever, whether it's the man caught in the closet and right, or it's the deacon that just cussed somebody out on the prank call. Like those things give me life. So for me, I love reading, but usually I read to grow.
right.
Um, but I'll press pause to meditate. I love my wife and I just went to South Carolina um, because it was her birthday, and I took a pause. I didn't answer anybody's calls. My COO handled the things of ReManned, and I was able to just kind of chill with her, have fun, eat, watch her drink sake that had her tipsy and drunk, like right. So
Right.
so so I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm evolving. Um, but I ain't quite there yet, man. I still do feel very guilty to take a break. Um, because of the zeal, because of the ambition, because of the call, because of the purpose, because of the why, because of all of that stuff that pushes me. I'm trying to learn. I haven't learned yet. I'm trying to learn that the best thing I can do for my wife, for my kids, for the community is be good to Donald, right? Um, just not quite good at it yet, but I'm trying.
I hear you. I hear you. And it's a process. And sadly, it's a process.
Yeah,
The fact that it's something that we have to work at to be good to ourselves.
yeah,
It's good to know that we can do it, but it's sad to know that we have to try to do it.
yeah,
Being good to you should be good to you. It should
yeah,
be easy,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's a struggle because it's almost in direct opposition to what I'm used to doing. And not taking care, it's not literally I'm not taking care of myself. I am just so focused on taking care of others that I just fall by the wayside.
yeah,
As you mentioned, we almost dispose of ourselves
yeah,
when we focus on everyone else.
yeah,
And it is imperative that before I can take care of that man, before I can coach that man, or I can hug my wife and tell her everything's going to be okay and hug my kids, I got to be good.
yeah, man. Yeah,
I have to be good. I got to pull the mask down before I can help everybody else. That's the
yes,
kind of analogy that I
yes,
like to use.
yes,
So it's important. And I know you work and I know you do so much. So I encourage you to find something. And I
yes,
know you will, and you will continue to do so.
yes,
But when you do that, it will make what you do even more valuable.
yes, sir.
Because I imagine it's easy because of the outcome. We know what we get when we've helped this man.
Yes,
But when
yes,
I feel even better about me,
yes,
it's even better for my client, for my
yes,
friend, for that
yeah,
brother. I can even better. And that ends up being part of the lessons.
yes,
You're doing all this, but how about you? Make sure I tell this to people when you have a business and when it's yours, it should have a piece of you. There
mm,
should be a part of you in what you're
mm,
selling and what service you're offering and what somebody's buying from you. A piece of that should have some of that morality of you, some of that Donald, some of that Harvey should be
yeah,
in there. And you can only really do that when you're 100%.
yeah,
Because when
yeah,
I'm 100%, I will sell the hell out of whatever it is that I've got.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
you will buy this from me because
yeah,
you're not just buying this, you're buying
yeah,
a piece of me.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
to
yeah,
and
yeah,
for me to give you a piece of
yeah,
me, I gotta be good.
yeah,
so
Yeah.
that I can be vulnerable enough to give it away.
Yes. Yeah.
This process.
Yeah.
But yeah, you right on point. The last letter in the word prize is E. The word is expectation.
Hmm.
Where where will ReManned be in 5 years?
5 years from now, our plan is to have um, brick and mortar corporate headquarters in downtown Atlanta, to have a multi-million dollar corporation comprised of two separate areas. We have a nonprofit and a for-profit. Um, and the goal is to have chapters, at least 20 chapters that are across the country. We have 5 now. Um, and to continue to reach thousands and thousands of men. The truth is, for us at ReManned, we don't measure, at least not primarily, right? So when we measure KPIs, we're not, our key performance indicators are not just finance. It's not just the ability to look in our bank account and make sure that our money is good. It's about impact for me. How many men can I reach? Where can I reach them? So right now we're in Atlanta, we're in Delaware, we're in Houston, we're in California. So we're in these different places. We're in Accra, Ghana. We're setting up now in Bluefield, Nicaragua. So we're in these different places. I get the greatest joy seeing another chapter born than I do seeing another dollar in my account. So for us, secondarily, obviously, you got to have the income to be able to do business, right? But primarily for us, it's about how many men I've reached and uh, how many ReManned certified coaches are across the country, how many men we're reaching, how many brick and mortar places we're setting up. That's kind of the goal that we have at ReManned. So that's what we see ourselves doing in 5 years.
Okay, excellent. This is an amazing endeavor that you decided to go through, and I think all the men that are along there with you should all be applauded because this is something that is going to be far reaching, obviously internationally, but
Yes.
on an emotional level, you're going to reach Black men, even men who you may not touch like firsthand, but hearing about it, seeing the efforts of others. This is the kind of selflessness that can only make us stronger. That
Yeah.
can only just it's hard to describe, but it's something I can see. I can see the wealth of it when we're all good. When you got a
Yeah.
bunch of men who you got a bunch of leaders, a bunch of confident, strong men who are head of their families and everybody's being taken
Yes.
care of and we are confident and we're all good. So I truly love
Thank
what
you,
it
man.
is that you do, and I
Thank
know that it's the beginning. I'm going to go back to the word prize because we skipped I.
you.
I
Yes.
doesn't represent a word; it represents you. So
Wow.
let's take away the titles: COO, CVO, father, husband, pastor, best friend, employee, all that stuff. We get rid of it, and it's just you at your core.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I am a singular, whole, and definite Black man.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Singular, whole, and definite Black man. That is my statement every single day. Um, I love being a Black man. I remember having a conversation with my ex-wife, and we were in an argument, a little heated fellowship, and she said, "You just like being a man." And in the heat of the moment, Harvey, I said, "No, I don't." Right. And so God is like, "You don't?" I'm like, "Yeah, I really do. I just right. I am finally singular. I'm finally one man. I'm not someone in public that I'm not in private.
Mm,
The The word integrity comes from the word integrate or integral. It means one, right? Are we, how do we close the gap between who we are when everything's good and who we are when shit hits the fan?
Yep.
Are we the same person or are we different people? And here is what I'm so excited to say. I've been able to close the gap so that who I am in adversity is the same man I am when there's no adversity to be found, right? I'm a singular, whole, and definite Black man.
It's beautiful. It's so on point. When some hits, it's very few words need to hit. I love it. I love
Yes.
it. I love it. I have a few random questions because it's a
Yeah,
podcast. You always have to ask the random part.
sure.
Obviously, with ReManned, you're here helping men. So you're teaching them, you're showing them the way with experience and with patented things that you've come up with
Yes.
to help these men. I'm a father, so I got these kids here and I'm teaching them and I'm helping them deal with life and just social aspects and anything. Do you enjoy teaching or do you enjoy learning? Which one do you prefer?
Oh, wow. I enjoy teaching because in that teaching, I learn. I learn about me. I learn about them. I learn uh, how I could have done something better. I learned something that I overlooked. So the teaching moment is very sacred um, because you can't be a great teacher, and I endeavor to be one. You can't be a great teacher without being curious and learning and vulnerable and all of those things that foster connection. So I enjoy being a teacher um, because in teaching I get a chance to learn.
I hear, I
Yeah,
hear that. Yeah.
yeah,
So in essence, when you answer that question, the answer is typically the same.
yeah.
And for me, I as trying to raise my children or try to teach them
Mhm,
and bring them up in this world, my specifically my daughters
mhm.
have taught me, I feel like more than I could possibly teach them. It is amazing dealing with what I say to people, and I said this a while back, and I don't know, and you tell me what you think. Friends
Yeah,
will tell you how you are.
yeah.
Your kids will show you.
Mm.
I can talk to my friend. My friend's like, you're a really good person, blah, 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 whatever. Your kid will mirror and show you exactly what you do in times of crisis because that's all they know. They
That's
don't know
right.
crisis until they see daddy or mommy
That
do.
is right.
My kids, I send my kids out and I'm like, how do they need to be able to deal with conflict, deal with life? And how do they know? Because they saw me when I was in the car and somebody cut me off and what I did.
Yes, yes,
Or I was in a store and I bought something and then I returned it and they wouldn't take it and how I dealt
yes,
with it.
yes.
It's that's what I love about my kids. I have
Wow,
learned so much about who I am
wow.
watching them, and they don't even know it. They don't even know that they're doing it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that is exactly how I would have said something if somebody said that to me. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I can literally say that's not right.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
oh no, that's wrong. And I could get mad at her for saying that, but I can't because she saw me do it.
That is right. That is
And
absolutely.
I got pulled back. I'm like, baby, listen, that's not the way you should have done that, but that is my fault.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I so enjoy learning about what kind of man I am by seeing my
Mm,
daughters. They tell me every day. They show me every solitary day. And sometimes it's just something I don't want to see, but I have to.
wow.
I have to, and I appreciate it. Dude, our kids have so much power and they're unaware. So for me, the learning thing, I learn from my kids more than anything else. And
Wow.
I try to teach them. And I try to teach them long lessons, stuff that they'll take into their 30s, 40s, and 50s. But those daily lessons,
Yeah,
they throwing at me every day. Daddy,
yeah.
that's not what you said a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Daddy, whatever we're going to do about that? Daddy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
wonderful. It is that. So that's why I asked that question, because I realized that my kids are my greatest teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, and
I can see that. I can see
it's,
that. And really, um, yeah, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that from even though my children are grown. We have one Marcus. Marcus is 18 now. He's in Middle Tennessee State University. He is my wife's biological son, still mine. And uh, he oftentimes will share with me, say, Donald, I got this from you. I watched. Sometimes, and you just brought this to light so clearly, man. Sometimes I don't know that we give proper credence to modeling, like the life that we live in front of our kids or others is the greatest teaching tool. It's not the stuff we say,
Mhm.
it's the life we live, it's the model that we present, right? So I think that's a good place for people that are watching, for every brother particularly that's watching. Model a behavior that is worthy of being mimicked, right? And all of it. So if it means apologizing, then apologize, right? If it means showing anger in its healthy stage, show that, right? If it means managing conflict, if it means being sad and expressing tears or fears or whatever it is, model that. Because if your unwillingness to model that because you're attempting to show them the stronger side of you. I was talking about this earlier with a friend of mine. It's amazing that we love social media's highlight reels. Social media doesn't show the whole truth. It shows the highlight reels.
Mhm.
And I don't wish that my parents never argued, and I don't wish that I never saw them argue. I wish that they would have argued in front of me in a way that was healthy,
Say this
right?
all the time. You're so
Yeah,
good. You're so good.
yeah. It's not. I think parents say all the time, "Well, I don't want my children to see us argue." You got to let them see you argue. They
Yep.
won't know
Yep.
how to manage that moment if they don't have a model.
So true.
So today, man, you just remind me of all of the lessons to be learned that surround me every single day that sometimes I take for granted. So I'm gonna do a better job at paying attention to the experiences that life brings to me that I can absolutely learn from.
Do you have any daughters?
I do. I have my oldest daughter is vice president of one of the banks in Delaware. She's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And when I tell you she gives me a hard way to go, she gives me she gives me a hard way to go.
I mean, I asked that because I have three, like I mentioned, I have
Yes,
three daughters.
yes,
And it's incredibly important for my daughters to see me and my wife, their mom,
yeah,
argue,
yeah,
because conflict is life.
yes,
And dealing with conflict is important, especially for my daughters.
yes,
My daughters see me and my wife disagree. We might get a
yes,
little loud. Hands
yes,
don't get raised.
yes,
Violence doesn't occur.
yes,
Compromise happens
yes,
every time. And my
yes,
daughters go to bed knowing, you know what, they disagreed, but they went to their room and everything was fine. And when
yes,
I find that man in my life, we're not gonna fight. No fists are gonna be up. We're gonna disagree, and then we're gonna go.
yeah,
They have to see that.
right,
They have
right,
to see that. My son is the same thing. He's a 19-year-old. He's we dating, and he can see me. I could be upset with your mother. She did something I didn't like. She
yeah,
bought something I didn't want her to. She didn't talk
yeah,
about something. I ain't go and attack your mother. I
yeah,
talked to her about it.
yeah,
We
yeah,
discussed it.
yeah,
That's
man,
and that's what you're gonna do in your
yeah,
relationship. You're gonna
yes,
discuss it with your girl because
yeah,
we don't do that to women.
yeah, Yeah,
We
yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah,
do that. And the
yeah,
only way for him to know is to have lived his whole life and never see a
yeah,
man put his hands on a woman,
yes, yeah,
especially his mother.
yes,
So they have to see this. So when you
yeah,
said that, I say that to a lot of men. Your
yes,
kids need to see conflict and they
yes,
need to see it resolved
yes,
in the most healthy of
yes,
situations.
yes,
We don't have to fight.
without
We can
question,
disagree, and
without
then
question,
mama is fine, and
without
so am
question,
I, and so are
without question,
you.
without
Oh,
without question. And let me because there's a brother that's watching now, Harvey, that has his anger demonized. And I heard you say, I may raise my voice. She may raise her voice. It's okay. You know what's crazy to me, man? We live in a society where when a woman is in pain and she cries, she's sad, people run to her rescue because she's sad.
right.
We live in a society equally that when a man is in pain, he's angry.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's angry, people run from him,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm trying to get us, I'm trying to be, because when we hear people talk about men and men aren't emotional and men don't express their emotions, I say to them, I say to people, look, he doesn't express the emotion you want him to.
Mm-hmm.
So where is that sense of empathy when he's angry? Is anger not an emotion? Is right? So let's be willing to sit down and talk with him when he's angry, not just when he's sad, not just when he's tearing up, but when he's angry.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've learned that if I tell a brother, one brother said to me, Harvey, one time, uh, it was out of nowhere, Harvey. He said, F you. And I smiled. I said, you good now? He said, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because black men haven't had voice. They don't know how to express themselves in a healthy way. So when they do express themselves, I give space for that. He said, man, I'm sorry. I said, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
get it. No apology necessary. I get it. Right? This is a space where I want you to be completely authentically you, and let's master how to address these moments. But you don't have to apologize for being angry or upset or embarrassed or whatever the case may be, right? And so hopefully our society learns more readily to be compassionate with brothers who are angry in the same way that they're compassionate when a sister is sad.
Mm-hmm. Such a beautiful, such a wonderful point. And I hear it. And you know what? I think that there's potential danger attached to an angry black man, but there is none to a sad black woman. But there's also danger attached to a crying black man. Because I don't think people would know what to do. What's
Right,
he crying about? What's
right,
because then we're like, okay, why is he crying? Is something about to really go down? It's
right,
either that or oh, he's soft. What's he crying about? What's that man
right,
doing crying? And then I'm not even gonna go talk to that man anyway, because there
right,
must be something wrong if he's crying
right.
versus it could be worse. So we don't even know how to handle an emotional black man.
Yes, yes,
What's worse is we don't know how to handle ourselves when we're emotional.
yes,
And
yes,
that's the beginning.
yes,
And that's what it is.
absolutely.
So we need a bunch of men who understand, who know how to handle, how to process. Listen, I could be mad, but that's not really what I really want to do right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
What's happening is right now is hurting me so much that tears are what should be coming out, but I don't know how to do that. So I can just yell, I
yeah,
curse somebody out, I
yeah,
can throw a punch.
yeah,
And that's so much of the conversation.
yeah,
That's so much of the struggle that we black men are dealing with. How do I handle being upset? Why am I going to be upset? Is it okay to be upset? Who am I allowed to be upset in front
yeah,
of? Do I
yeah,
have to hide it? Do I have to
yeah,
go to another room to be upset or to cry or to
yeah.
question myself? Anything. The fact that I got to figure out where to be me is
Yes,
the problem. I can't
yes,
just be me here.
yes, yes,
And if I can't be
yeah,
me here, where can I and who can I be
yes,
with?
yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah, we are both. This is a fantastic conversation, and it's the beginning. I could talk to you for hours. Let's
Me
just get to
too.
the. We could go for days. We could go for days, but it's been a long conversation. So I will say this: where can men find you and the people who do what you do? Tell us about ReManned, where we can find you, where we can find out.
Yeah, thank you, man. I want to echo what you said. Phenomenal conversation. I sense, Harvey, man, and you pray about it, whatever you got to do. But I sense a relationship developing here. Like we are kin to one another.
Yes, sir.
Uh, I I do interviews all the time, podcasts all the time. Rarely do I connect in the way that I was able to connect tonight, and rarely do I leave a podcast better. I'm accustomed to pouring out. I'm accustomed to all of that. But today, hopefully, I added value, but in a way that is incredibly selfish. You added value to me. So tonight was about Donald being helped and Donald learning. So everybody can reach me on all social media platforms at I am Don Morton, IAMDONMORTON. All of my social media platforms are the same. They can also catch me on my website, www.remanned, REMANNED.info. And if you are a Black man, we have a private community for you on Facebook. No sisters are allowed. All you got to go do is go to www.remanned.community. Remanned.community. And we'll let you in. It's where the brothers are gathering. Business is being done with one another. We're talking and celebrating family. It is the dopest, blackest community of Black male entrepreneurs and businessmen in this entire world. And we're looking forward. The only thing missing are the brothers like y'all. So come on and hang out with us.
Appreciate that. All that information will be in the episode notes. This has been, and I don't want to overstate it, this has been a transformative conversation for me.
For me as
It's been wonderful. I love conversations with Black men, uplifting conversations, discussions about how we're going to get better. And I'm a better person for this time speaking with you, sir. So thank you for giving me your time. I know it's late, but it was worth every minute, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I'm going to talk to the people at the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. I love doing this podcast because I love moments when I get to speak to people. And every once in a while, I get to have a conversation with somebody who has forever changed me. He literally changed something that I won't say anymore. And the way I'll go with this is I always talk about the safe space. And talking to Donald, I'm not going to use that phrase anymore. Courageous space is it. Safe denotes nothing can possibly happen to me. That's not the case. Courageous space means I am willing to go into a space where it could go wrong. It could go left, but I'm going to do it anyway in the hopes of it going right. Life is tough. It is difficult. We struggle, but we fight through. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. Thank you to my guest. This was fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. To all of you men out there, never forget your value. Never forget how important you are. Even if you question your worth, know that people around you value you. Know that people around you need you, love you, are entertained by you, love hearing your voice, love seeing you walk into a room. You're special. You are important. You're valuable. You are a man. And you're the prize. I'll see you next week.